Hey, Rose.
Hi, John. I'm sorry. I just can't deal with this scooter one more time this week.
You need to get a motorized one.
I really do, but you know.
All right, I think we can start.
Good afternoon. Notice of a public meeting of the Audit and Oversight Committee pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Opens Meeting Act. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the Audit and Oversight Committee of the City of Brownsville will be conducted on July 21, 2023 at 12:15 p.m. at the City Commission Chambers located on the second floor of City Hall Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Texas 78520, via WebEx teleconference meeting by logging in on through the city's website. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form will be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Opens Meeting Act. Chair, it is now 12:19. You may now call the meeting to order.
Being that we have a quorum, I hereby call this meeting to order.
Okay. Next, we have the public comment period. We did not receive any public comments, so I will go ahead and read the next agenda item. Items for individual consideration, discussion, and possible action. Items 3A, approval of the minutes for the following Audit and Oversight Committee meeting for items 3A 1 through 15.
Sure, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So motioned.
Second.
Oh, excuse me, let's hold on real
I
quick.
apologize.
We have a gentleman that did sign up for public comment. All right. Oh, yeah, can we have Mr. Silva just briefly give his public comment? Jen?
If the board is willing to remove the rules and do them out of order, that's fine.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to proceed, to reopen public comment.
All right, we have a motion to reopen. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Silva, please state your name and you'll have 3 minutes.
I am Ezequiel Silva, Zig Silva as well. Thank you for allowing me to speak. BCIC needs to be audited. I've done my research. I think as if they've created back in 2002, they have never been internally audited. They've been externally audited. I have no idea. I was pretty much railroaded by the commissioners, by the board members on Wednesday evening because I make a comment that they should be audited. So it's a little bit of retaliation, but that comes with being forthcoming with transparency. One of the board members yesterday said that they have more authority and more power than GBEC, that they pretty much could do whatever GBEC does and have their cake and eat it too. Those are concerning remarks from a board member that was the previous chairman of the board for BCIC. In other words, they do not follow any rules. They want to allow themselves to go ahead and give money to themselves, vote even though they abstain. They have an economic interest in it. They don't have anything in writing, any set operational procedures. They pretty much fly on the whatever they feel. They don't have no rules that they have to follow with the city commissioners. So they pretty much do whatever the hell they want to do. They lend property owners money then for the same building and the tenants and then the property owner and then the tenant. And there's no cap on how much money they could lend each other or the owner of that same property. So basically the city of Brownsville and us taxpayers are paying for their investment, their repairs, their investment, then they sell it for a profit and then they lease it out and it's just a continuous repetition. But there is nothing that they are being held accountable for. Yet they are taking our sales tax. I am a business owner that does do sales tax. I have a right to complain and I have a right to ask this audit committee to audit them. They've never been audited, not internally. There were some people that been speaking up, which I applaud them. People are fed up that the same people always get the freaking money and the people that want to be able to get help don't get help. And these are public comments. These are real people. These are honest people. These are citizens taxpayers of Brownsville, Texas, like myself, that all we want is fairness, but we don't have any fairness if there's nothing that they're gonna be held accountable for. And this is not me just talking because I read on the blogs or on Facebook or anything like that. This is me showing up to meetings. This is me sitting there through the whole freaking time, doing my research. So I'm not just here blowing smoke up anybody here. I'm actually telling you, and I could prove to you in facts, that the way these people are administering money is because they think that they don't answer to nobody. The rule, chapter 38, that you guys applied, they could care less about that. They'll have no restrictions of what they can or cannot do. So it's up to you guys to be transparent to us residents, us taxpayers, our people that are home business, that use this money, use their time, wake up every day, try to figure out how we're gonna make money. Just be considerate of us and do your job and have them audit, please.
Thank you, Mr. Silva.
Okay. For item 3, items for individual consideration, discussion, and possible action. Items 3A, approval of the minutes for the following Audit and Oversight Committee meetings. Items 3A 1 through 15.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Just want to say thank you for getting caught up on the minutes. I know there was a lot to get caught up on, but thank you. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Okay, next item, we have item 3B, City Auditor's Office update on B1, proposed budget, ongoing audits, follow-up audits, review of bylaws, fraud reporting, and other items of interest related to the Office of the City Auditor.
Good afternoon. Our first item for discussion is the Office of the City Auditor requested budget. We've been going through with the rest of the city, the budget process. And what I've included here is a slide. Individually, we sent out a spreadsheet that had more explanation than this document here about the different items that we're looking for. The big ticket items, the first items up there, payroll is handled by OD and HR. That's not something that we handle. What I put in was our actual salaries in the first line for supervision, and for clerical, what I'm requesting that be considered as a raise for our assistant city auditor based on tenure and talent and retention. You can see in the last column over here, the increase or decrease to the item line. So we input materials and supplies, office supplies. We actually had a decrease of 50% there because we found that we weren't using that many office supplies. We do a lot of things online, a lot of things virtually. We save our documents virtually. We don't print out as many items. So that came down. We don't have some of the items on here, but if you go to the bottom under miscellaneous services, that's where you're going to see the big ticket items down at the bottom, the ones that are labeled 9999-999 enhancement. Based on discussion that we've had with the Audit and Oversight Committee, we started looking into auditing software and also data analytics, because I asked a colleague, how did you do in 3 weeks what took me 3 months? And they said, data analytics. We have a data analysis software tool that we can use, and then it takes out a lot of the manual back and forth and makes it really fast. And you can build programs with these. We could actually track our own programs, our audit programs, from inception through final and follow-up through an audit software tool. Through a data analysis tool, we could build tests and models that we could use time and time again and do it rather quickly so that you wouldn't have to wait for information. And that would be a big help to us and to the city. There are 2 extra licenses I mentioned when I met with the CFO and city manager's office to discuss this. Since there is a minimum of 5 licenses, there are only 3 people currently in the audit department. 1 would be available possibly to the Audit and Oversight Committee if they wanted, and 1 might be available to the city manager's office or the CFO's office. They could build models and tests to test things like travel funds or the P card. So We have presentations that we shared and that we can share with you. We haven't made any promises to anyone. We told them that we're merely gathering quotes. So we put the highest quote on here. In the data that we shared behind the scenes, we had 3 different options for the data software. We need approval for the budget before we can move forward on that. So that's why I wanted to include that for you today.
What has been the initial feedback on the budget from the city so far?
Nothing.
You haven't.
We were asked to give supporting documentation based on when I asked for a budget for potential need for outside experts. So we used the CRI special audit amount to support that because we didn't have a history of it. It's brand new. That's all we were asked for. We supplied what they asked for. We broke these items out separately so that you could see the implementation fee for the first year is going to be the most expensive. Then following up after that, it's an annual process, right?
You're going to fall back to your budget pretty much.
Then, yeah, it'll go down to the lower amount.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And yeah, this helps us with compliance with the audit standards, which are changing as we've discussed. Next slide. Do you have any questions about the budget other than that?
I mean, I don't mean to take a license away from you all, but have you talked to them about being able to use a license per department on a per department basis?
They had a 5
Per
license
user.
minimum.
Yeah,
So-
but they give you 5 licenses
They're transferable within the department.
within the department though, not like, because I imagine maybe finance would get a good use out of this. Well, but I mean, I'll leave that to the city. I just was wondering.
The data analysis software, they would have the use.
Yeah.
The audit software,
Oh, yeah, no, I meant actually just a data. I'm
Data
sorry, just the
analysis.
Data analysis.
yeah. I don't think the companies actually care who uses the license as long as you tell them who the name is. And I did check that if there's changes in positions, those licenses are transferable.
Yeah.
So that's as good as we can get. Okay, so our ongoing audits, we were in the planning phase. We're still in the planning phase for this, but we have opened the first audit for Parks and Recreation specific to transportation. I brought a sample document here to show you the things that we go over. So I wanted to share with you. One of the things we do when we have an entrance conference meeting is we tell the auditee or the department up front what our objective is, what the scope of it is, the time frame that we're covering, and then we give them an audit process explanation about what they can expect during planning, during field work, during reporting, an exit conference, revisions, reports, and so forth. We also ask them to identify points of contact for us because it doesn't have to be the department director. We ask that the department director come to the opening meeting, but they can designate other individuals within their department to work with us during the audit. We also take into consideration what resources might be needed and gave them a list of document information that is required. So if they have any mission statement, purpose, goals, copies of written policies and procedures, process maps, internal department reviews that they've done, external assessments, org chart, number of employees, annual budget. Some of these figures we pulled out of the budget ourselves, but we're asking them so we can compare actual to projected. Names of external regulatory agencies that they might deal with, code of regulations. And in the risk assessment process that we started, we're also asking what software you use. What type of software do you use? And
I have a
then-
question. I have a
Yes, ma'am.
question. When you say transportation, and I'm sorry, I can't see that document, maybe it's on there. Do you mean their work vehicles or do you mean transporting kids during summer camp or both?
Transporting people, transporting children or other customers of the park.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we haven't officially opened the BPD property and evidence audit yet, but it's been assigned to Daniela. We're working on some follow-ups, which you'll see on the next slide. For the third audit, we have competing OD&HR, BCIC, and BPUB rates and city transfer because those all are in the public interest, because we had the compensation study recently and stuff. So OD and HR, that's probably going to be like a focus when that audit gets assigned, but there are 3 of us and I need to oversee these 2 at the same time. Published reports can be found at this web link. Yes, ma'am.
Just a bit of information. It is I think that when you whenever you do get to BCIC, there was an audit when I was the chair, and the audit was specifically for the sports park. So be sure and access that data, because it was a very well done audit of that particular project.
Okay. All right. I have sent out a preliminary request for any SOPs and information, because as part of the risk assessment, we're sending out a link to a SharePoint site that we have, where we have that document that I showed you with the multiple tabs and the questions, the 10. I added 1 question, any extra factors that you want to include that might be specific to a department, because not all departments are going to be exactly the same. And I haven't gotten a response back yet from that.
So Corey was there, worked with BCIC at the time. And so, I mean, we're talking about maybe 10 years ago. So it does exist. You just have to find it.
Okay. Yeah, for the Audit and Oversight Committee's information and for public information, the only audits that I have are the audits that my predecessor did. Those are the only audits that we had. There was hard copies of audits in the department when the department was disbanded the year before. We never found those. We found monitors, printers, different pieces of equipment, but we never found those actual physical audits. So we only have going back to 2020.
So that audit, one more thing and I'll shut up.
Yes.
That audit was not done internally. We hired an outside audit company to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, the current follow-ups we're working on are the GBIC review of land acquisition from 2021 and the financial disclosure and ethics review. We waited to give time because we already had a GBIC audit, so we waited to give them time to respond. We've just sent a request this week. Financial disclosure and ethics review, we started that mid-June because we had an estimated completion date of June 1st. Of course, the elections ran a little long, so then that would push back because you had a runoff. That pushes it back a little further. So we collected data. At this point, I'm going to ask that the Audit and Oversight Committee please, speak to your peers, speak to commissioners, to city management, and let them know that this is very important for public trust and transparency. If it's in the law and it's in the code, that's one of the things we're going to look at. Then we're going to look at ways that you prove that you did what you said you're supposed to do, right? So how did you make this happen? Did you document it? Did you keep copies of that? Did you make those records publicly available? Did you read those names in public? That's a little harsh, but that's what the law actually says. If you don't file timely, the city secretary is supposed to read your name out in a public commission meeting. So I would prefer that everybody file so you don't have to have your name read out. So that, and we found that the ethics training that was instituted in Go Skills for Chapter 38 only had a 57% compliance rate. I don't know. I know that they said that some of the boards didn't have access to Go Skills. There should be, I would think that wouldn't be that difficult to get extra access to Go Skills for board members if they're going to be subject to Chapter 38. It makes it pretty easy because you take the class online, you get your certificate, you print it out, there's the documentation. And then the people on the backside can see it, they run reports. And that's the report that we were looking at. They exported it to Excel so we could see exactly who did. We only had one anomaly, and that was on Daniela's file. She did take it. They said somehow it reset. We have no idea, but they claim that that's very rare occurrence.
So when you say 57%, that includes all city employees as well?
City employees and commissioners.
And commissioners and board members?
And board members are supposed to be assigned the training as well, the
Yeah,
ethics training.
it's a video link that they
Yeah.
send you,
And-
yeah.
Yeah.
I recall doing it. I mean, it's not that.
So there may be a breakdown in between when it was done and the recording of it, right? The documentation, because that's what we find a lot in audit. You may have done it, you just didn't think about keeping the file, or it was there and something happened to it. Everybody needs to be mindful that keep these files in order, and those financial disclosures should be publicly available to the public, right? So if anybody has a question or concern about who has what business and are they doing business with their own business through the city, then it's right there. The document's right there.
Yeah, I've tried to get that, put it on our website. I think I can get it done now, but before I couldn't get it done. So, yeah.
Not real
That's
hard to
important.
put stuff on the website,
Yep.
but there are some applications that the city has been using that make it more difficult than it needs to be. So I think those maybe need to be looked at too in the future. The rest of the follow-ups that we're going to do, you can see the number 02 at the top on these that we're currently working on. That's the second follow-up. The third follow-up on the remaining 4 will be done after September 30th. That's the estimated completion date. We started out slow, but we're hoping that people build a habit of responding timely, of understanding what kind of documentation we need to look at. So those are scheduled for then. That's dealing with petty cash and change fund. The finance department has started their own monitoring program to do surprise cash counts, which is something that we would do. I wanted to give them the opportunity to go first and take care of it first before we go in to look at it. But they know that we can go in there anytime. So the city knows, the city should know that we can go in and do a cash count at any time. There's a problem with the system because if you log out of the point of sale system in some of them, you can't go back. It starts the next day for some reason. So you can't just like stop it and restart it. So we might have to look at shift change or end of the day potentially. Controlled asset inventory. I know that they're working on that now because they came and checked our assets. City's call center, again, there are concerns. They're still working on the software with that, getting complaints taken care of, routed to the right department through 546 help. We have been getting 546 help calls in our office. I have no idea why, but we get them to the right place if we can. And then the P card. And Mr. Delmore said that was a concern of his. So that's why I was thinking if we had a data analysis tool, they could do their own testing. Then when we test, hopefully they've already found whatever the problem is and fixed it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we discussed last time we were going to do a review of the bylaws, and we have gone through the bylaws and we sent a copy via email to you all. We all 3 reviewed them. There are comments in there where we thought comments were necessary. And we included legal, Office of the City Attorney on there, the City Attorney and Deputy City Attorney, so we could have their review as well. Part of it is going to be based on the change of standards that are going to be the global audits, global internal audit standards rather than the professional practices framework. We don't have a hard date on that. It just says late in 2023. That's all that's on the publicly available website. So they're taking public comments and now they're reviewing those public comments. We would like to consider adding government accountability offices, generally accepted government auditing standards, which is GAGAS or Yellow Book, because we are a government entity. It's a little bit stricter, but it's more geared towards government. IIA is more geared towards public and private business. Like, you know, when you have your own company, you might keep that internally. So there's a little bit of difference when you're dealing with a government entity, because in that case, your auditor serves both the city to try to help improve functions, but also for transparency to the public. And then some of the comments are the difference between the bylaws and the charter or ordinance, and whichever rules should, of course, the other should fall in line with that. Any questions on that?
So we just send any comments we have, I guess we can copy legal and relay to you.
Okay. Yes, we did. Thank you. Okay, next slide. We haven't had any official fraud reports, but we have had a couple of different questions about BCIC. It is in the public attention. So Per our records, they hadn't been audited since 2020. We didn't find any audit on them, so we'll go look for that one from 10 years ago, see if we can find something on that online or through BCIC if they have a copy of it. And this is what I mentioned earlier. I only have the records of my immediate predecessor. I don't have any further records, although we did find an old audit on another subject when somebody requested it. And we are currently preparing to do a community outreach during one of the upcoming farmers markets. That was an idea that was floated by the city manager's office, and I think it's a good idea. We're looking at potentially getting some kind of, I don't know, a keychain, a refrigerator magnet, something that has the fraud hotline phone number on it, the website address, that some way that they know how they can reach out to us and get a hold of us, or where they can look for reports, maybe the city auditor's website on there.
I think it's also important to market that internally as
Yes.
well at the city,
Yeah.
right? I think that's where
Mhm.
potentially a lot of leads would come from.
Yeah, internally, the follow-up on the ethics is part of that. And then we're also sharing information that we find on internal controls or other items like that. But we can also share more information on fraud reporting internally as well. This is what you see if you go to the public website for fraud reporting. It looks like they want you to sign up for an account. We don't really necessarily have to have anybody's identity for this, but they can include it if they want to. So this is the web address right here. We just put it in there for public knowledge because we want to start posting these updates on the website.
Is there, I haven't checked it, but is there something that clearly says like you are not required to provide your information? Just because I go to it and I want to make a report, I want to say
Mhm.
something, but if I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put my personal information in, somebody's gonna have it, I'd be, I'd shy away from doing it probably. So maybe if
We'll-
there's something that could let them know that.
Yeah, we'll look into that and we'll check with EA because, we all know nowadays in this age that anybody can look up your IP address
Yeah.
with the right equipment, right? So we are personally not going to do that. We'll look into it to make sure that that's there. It's on the web page, but when you go into the document, I don't remember seeing that in there. Next slide. Okay, other items. The upcoming move. We're still at the call center at the main library branch currently. It is not as secure as we need an office to be. So we are still looking to move to 1045 East Washington, but we were recently made aware that the pyramid is also going to be vacated at the same time by communications and marketing. And it is a nice building. So
Yeah,
Might
my
be-
understanding is that there's other proposed uses for that site, so that's.
Okay.
Yeah, probably not you'll probably have to be moved out of there soon after that, so I think that
it's already spoken for.
might be,
All right. So, and we didn't ask for any improvements that might be needed when we move because we don't know until we get there what shape the building's going to be in. So we know that there was an inner courtyard. The inner courtyard was kind of a mess. There was like debris and different things in there. So that could be updated a little bit. I don't think it would be majorly expensive. But they do have office space that would be secure because we would have keys and locks. So,
yeah, the offices are nice. They're not in bad shape. That's where city legal used to be at one point.
okay. Yeah. I think they were recently updated, like maybe the previous crew
Yeah.
updated them. Okay. So now we come to the last item. We were looking for internal control purposes and to learn more about the Logos system. Logos is the ERP system that's used by finance currently. I asked a question that I thought would already be, like there would already be documentation on. I asked, what reports do you run on a regular basis? And can you tell us how you run those reports within the system, right? So like a 1, 2, 3 type thing. There are no reports. We were told that they are so busy, they would prefer that we go and individually sit with each staff member to ask each staff member what reports they work. They run on a regular basis. I was actually thinking from management's perspective, right? Part of management's job is to monitor the work of the employees, because how do you know that everything as it should be if you're not checking to see, at least spot checking, right? Check a couple of items here and there. So we got a list, an org chart. We asked for an org chart. We'll maybe get an updated org chart next week because it wasn't the most current version. I asked because I noticed that two of the members had changed. I knew already that two of the people had changed, but I don't know the whole department. There are 30 individual positions in the finance department
in
that we would
finance.
need to sit with, not counting upper management, but starting with the director on down. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. We really, as auditors, need to understand the ERP system. So that's where we'll start if we have to. Next slide. And that concludes our presentation.
Any questions or comments from this board?
Okay, next slide. There's our contact information. And as I said, we want to make this available probably with part of the minutes on the webpage so that you can access, when you access the minutes, we'll put these presentations in there with them. Thank you.
Chair, it is now 12:49. Would you like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Sure, I'll entertain a motion.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
The following item will be discussed in executive session. Item 4A, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 55.071, consultation with attorney regarding the Carr-Rigland Ingram CRI report dated September 29, 2022.
Keely, are you there?
Okay. There, it is now 1:04. Would you like to make a motion to reconvene the regular meeting?
Sure, I'll entertain the motion.
Made.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
We have item 5 on the agenda, possible action on any items as discussed in executive session. Item 5A, consideration and action of any regarding the CRI report.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to proceed as discussed in executive session.
All right, we
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Item 6, we have future agenda items.
Anyone wish to say anything on this item?
No.
All right.
No, but I do have a question. Can
Sure.
you put that slide back up that had everybody's phone numbers in the auditor department? I meant it there. I just wanted to take a quick snapshot of that. Okay, thank you.
The final item on the agenda is adjournment.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So motioned.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
It is now 1:05 and the meeting has ended.